Hey, it's Molly. I have a question for you. What is the one way that you should treat dog cancer? Seriously, what's the one thing you should always do if your dog has cancer? Do you know? I don't. If you listen to folks online, though, everybody's got an opinion. This one says, oh, chemo is the only way you should go. Listen to your oncologist and always do chemo, whatever they suggest. And another one says, never do chemo. That's poison. You're poisoning your dog. You are bad for using chemo with your dog. And then there's someone else who says supplements are a total waste of money. And other people who say, if you take this one supplement and you give it to your dog is going to outlive you. And then other people say, diets don't help. Doing dietary changes is just going to prolong the inevitable, and you're going to be focused on food while you should be spending money on other things. And then there are other people who swear up and down that if you change your dog's diet to their specific diet or their specific protocol, then your dog is going to cure cancer naturally. This is all very contradictory. And if you're confused and upset and angry and feeling a little bit hopeless, maybe stupid, crazy, well, you're really not alone. I am the editor of the Dog Cancer Survival Guide. I started working with Dr. Dressler on this project in 2007. I have been listening to people for 13 years now talk about their experiences with dog cancer, hundreds of thousands of people around the world. And I can tell you, nobody has ever come up with the single right way. Just like so many other topics, social media lights this whole discussion of dog cancer up and polarizes it and encourages people. Our human brains just sort of get locked in on a position, and we go there and we defend it. And the whole all the platforms, including this one that you're watching me on right now, all encourage that. They encourage us to get polarized. And that's actually really bad for your dog if your dog has cancer. Because here's the truth. There's no one right way to treat cancer. And if you're listening to everybody and you're trying to evaluate all of these different opinions online, and you're taking all this input and you're getting hopeless and confused, then it's likely that your dog is sitting there still having cancer and you're not even there to walk him or notice that she's, limping and maybe needs a little bit more support. There's so many things that we need to actually pay attention to our dog in the room in order to help them with dog cancer. And so I wanted to talk to you a little bit today about sort of the history of the book and the attitudes around it, because I actually think it's really important for all of us, including me as a mom of a dog with cancer, to keep in mind. When we first published the first edition of the Dog Cancer Survival Guide, it was 2008, and we immediately got huge pushback from veterinarians because back then, genuinely, in general, veterinary medicine did not treat dog cancer. There were a couple hundred veterinary oncologists. They were all in big cities. They took referrals from local general practice vets, but there were almost 60,000 general practice vets in the United States. So that's how little people were treating dog cancer back then. We now have more veterinary oncologists. I think it's close to 450. So we've doubled, but still not nearly as many oncologists as general practice veterinarians. So at our publishing house, Maui Media, we heard from veterinarians routinely, how can you publish this book? It's totally unethical to encourage people to have hope. Dog cancer, we don't have good tools to treat it. There's absolutely no reason why people should be even thinking about treating cancer. One veterinarian wrote to me and said that when they saw, this is several years ago now, this is 2008, so don't get too upset. I don't know if this veterinarian has changed in the meantime, but at that time, an attitude that was very often found was epitomized by this one email I got where this veterinarian said it was he, as a practice, when he found a lump on a dog in a standard routine exam, would say, nothing. Would think, I should aspirate that and find out if it's cancer, and then think, but why bother? Because I have no way to treat it, and it'll just upset them to know that their dog might have cancer, so I'm just not going to say anything. And maybe a veterinarian has said this to you over the time, like, well, let's just watch and see what happens. At that time, that veterinarian was telling me that this was just a technique to protect what he felt like he was protecting the clients in his practice from the sad news that their dog might have cancer, and then the news that their dog did have cancer if it turned out to be cancer, and because he didn't want to treat it, because he didn't feel like any of the treatments that he had were worthwhile. So Dr. Dressler in his book was recommending all these dietary changes, a low carb, moderate protein, higher fat diet. He was recommending certain supplements, and he was recommending a lot of mind-body strategies, as well as, of course, considering conventional treatments like surgery, which is obviously, if you can cut cancer out, that's a good idea. Radiation and chemotherapy, which there were protocols worked out for a couple of cancers back then that he felt were worth looking into, specifically and especially lymphoma. But these veterinarians were saying, oh my God, this is crazy. I can't believe that you're encouraging people to do that. Well, that was all fine. Whenever you put your research out there, your opinion out there, you're always going to hear someone who doesn't like what you're doing. The fact is that their clients got the book anyway, and they changed the diet, and they made some of the, they made every change that they could. Not everybody can afford to do everything, but they did what they could. And what they were finding was that, maybe the dogs eventually did die of cancer, but it wasn't in a week or 2 weeks or 2 months. Now, obviously, some dogs don't, meet their prognosis. The vet says your dog has 6 to 8 weeks to live, and that is, in fact, what happens. But significant numbers of our readers were saying, my vet gave my dog 2 months, and it's 12 months later, and, this is amazing, and my vet is really surprised. So these people who beat those early prognosis, which were a lot, actually started sending us these success stories. And so for the second edition of the book, which was when Dr. Susan Ettinger came on, Dr. Sue, cancer vet, came on as the co-author of the book, she brought her oncology perspective to it. We also included all of these, what we call true tales, in the book, because I felt, as the editor, it was really important that you understand that there are lots of people who have beat the odds. And is your dog definitely going to beat the odds? Can't tell. Don't know. I hope so. But the fact is that it's not crazy, it's not cruel, or it's not even really unusual to do something to help your dog. And in most cases, I think, the readers were finding that the act of taking charge and being their dog's advocate and making changes was helping them feel better and also helping their dog to outlive their prognosis. Now, not everyone has the time or the attention or the motivation to help their dog, and that's absolutely totally fine. But what I have found over the years is that veterinarians have actually come to us and bought the book to give to every one of their clients who get a new cancer diagnosis. They've said, thank you for bringing some attention to these issues, because I have all of these clients who have used this book to help their dog, and I'm beginning to understand that there are actually things that we can do. Now, does that mean all veterinarians? No. Does that mean you're a veterinarian? I hope so. And if not, then, an honest conversation with them might be in order. But the bottom line is, I'm in a judge-free zone when it comes to dog cancer. I just have too much experience with it. For 13 years, helping other people and helping 2 dogs go through it as well. So my judge-free zone is actually very comfortable, and it's not fun. It's not polarizing. It's not, like the way that most people are, but it's how I live, because this platform that encourages polarization and taking sides and being really extreme in your viewpoints is not going to affect me when I know what's right for my dogs, which is that sometimes some dogs need a chemo protocol. And the person who's choosing that for their dog can start that knowing that they can always change. If the side effects are bad for their dogs, as they are for some, not most, but some, they can always scale back. They can always stop if they have to. If they, some dogs don't do well, other dogs sail through it like it's nothing, and you're not going to know until you try it. And so if somebody wants to do chemo, I think that's great. I know literal billionaires who've bought this book and decided not to do chemo, not because they couldn't afford it, obviously they could afford it, but because it didn't feel right for them and their dog. There is no right decision about any aspect of dog cancer care. Some dogs try the dog cancer diet that's in the book and they absolutely hate it, or they hate certain elements of it. Or, Dr. Dressler recommends you mix everything all together, and people find, actually, my dog hates that mixture, but if I serve him all the individual elements separately, like a toddler who doesn't like their food to touch, then my dog will eat it all. Or my dog will eat certain things some days and other things other days. Doesn't matter. Whatever gets your dog to eat healthy food is totally fine. And you know what? If your dog isn't eating the healthy food and you have to resort to using a commercial diet or something they're more familiar with, or you have to try junk food for a while because that's all your dog will actually eat, that's fine. If your dog isn't eating, your dog isn't happy. And a happy dog is way more capable of fighting cancer than an unhappy dog. So again, you can feed your dog within the guidelines of the Dr. Dressler's dog cancer diet, and if they like it, fantastic. If that doesn't work for your dog, that's okay too. Judge-free zone, because you have to make all of these decisions within the guidelines of what makes sense for you, for your dog, for your personality, your dog's personality, your time. Gosh, a lot of people just don't have the time to make the dog cancer diet. Your budget, all of these things matter, and you should take them seriously. There's no one else who can actually really tell you how to do this. You truly are the best judge and the only one whose judgment truly matters in the end. So, those who can't cook for their dogs for whatever reason, they can't cook. They're not going to be able to do the dog cancer diet. They're not going to do it perfectly. Oh, goodness. Who's living a perfect life who can judge the rest of us? Nobody is treating their dog's cancer perfectly. The person who treats their dog's cancer perfectly is the person who somehow knows some magical cure that has not come to light in the last 13 years that I've been dealing with this subject. None of us are getting this right. None of us are solving the problem completely without any missteps or without we're all making difficult choices. So every choice that we make is not just a choice to do something, it's a choice to not do something else, right? So it's important for all of us living in this judge-free zone to remember that because every choice to do something is also a choice to not do other things, we're always going to have lots of opportunities to second guess ourselves and to think, maybe I should have done this, or maybe I should have done that. And so you have to know that kind of comes with the territory. You will go over your choices and you will think, did I make the right choice? And if you're on social media, you're going to get a lot of feedback from people, or you're going to read other people's comments. Even if you don't speak up and you're just kind of lurking there reading everything, you're going to have a lot of opportunities to second guess every decision you've ever made about your life. Somebody's going to criticize what I'm wearing. Like it doesn't. Sometimes it's just ridiculous. Let's see okay. So something else I wanted to say. Here's where I get really, where I have to really hold back my judgments, where I have to remind myself I live in a judge-free zone. A lot of people will email us at the publisher, and because they think they're emailing Dr. Dressler directly, they'll give us a list of all the supplements that they've given their dogs. And they'll give this list. I have literally counted in several emails 45 supplements. Like somebody is giving their dog 45 different supplements. And when I look them all up and I look at all their ingredients, I'm like, okay, they're actually giving 10 different supplements that basically are the same ingredients. So I wonder if possibly they're overdosing their dog and kind of playing pharmacologist in their home kitchen. You know, I don't know. As long as they're a dog, I hope their dog, I just, in those circumstances, I really like literally say a little prayer and just for the dog's health and hoping that they're not getting overdosed in any one thing is anything, of course. Just because it's natural, guys, does not mean that it's not powerful. Every pharmaceutical on the planet is based in plant medicine. So if you are giving a plant-based herbal supplement, it's still the chemicals are still all there in the plant. Pharmaceutical companies don't make stuff up. They find things and then they make synthetic versions that they refine and try to enhance and target and make more potent. But just because it's natural, if you're giving 5 different forms of curcumin, then you're giving 5 different forms of the same thing. It's just something to keep in mind. But anyway, that's where I'll get like, oh my God, this person is playing pharmacologist and they should get some supervision. But I know that I'm just playing into that same mindset, right? That is not helpful to tell that person. What I do tell that person is, hey, you know, that's a lot of supplements and also many forms of the same one. Please get some supervision from a person who's knowledgeable about supplements, like a holistic veterinarian often will be able to look at that list and kind of pare it down and pare it back. But the reason somebody does that is because they've been online and they've been researching and they've found all of these different specific brands in all of these forums online or in social media, and they just think, I'm going to do this, and they make a list and they go shopping and they buy them all because they want to help their dog. And because it certainly sounds like all of these people have something that will help. So later, when they find out that maybe they're overdoing it, it can be really upsetting, right? Because when you're listening to all of these voices and you're taking all of these suggestions at once, you can start to feel a little confused and like you got to do everything and then later beat yourself up because again, we always have opportunities to second guess ourselves. So in the end, here's my highest and best advice as someone who's been sort of in this space and watching people for 13 years and really closely observing the way that the human brain engages with the subject of dog cancer is that if you feel confused or there's this kind of heaviness that I can get, like nothing's really working and I'm not sure if I can tolerate this. My hand is getting tired. Let me switch. One thing you can do is just literally take 3 deep breaths. In through the nose, out through the mouth, 3 times in a row. It calms the nervous system down and kind of resets your brain. Continue to do that, like repeat, rinse and repeat. 3 deep breaths for like 6 cycles, and you will find that you're feeling just a lot better. You've given your body some extra oxygen, you've slowed your heart rate down, you've reduced your cortisol levels a little bit, and you're feeling a lot more calm. Then turn to a source you trust. I highly recommend the Dog Cancer Survival Guide, of course, but you know, it could be your veterinarian, it could be a support group like the one that we run here on Facebook, and turn to a source you trust. Ask the question you need answered and then listen. And honestly, make the decision that's best for you and for your dog. Try to set everybody else's opinions aside because nobody can actually make the decision for you that is best for you. And so you're in the end going to be the one who has to make that choice. I'm a big fan actually of asking my dog for help. Literally. Once I calm down, once I do some research, once I like reread a chapter in the book, or I read one of the articles on dogcancerblog.com, or I listen to one of our podcast episodes. Dog Cancer Answers podcast is a really good resource. You can go to youtube.com/dogcancervet, and all of our podcasts are on that channel. Once I do that, if I still don't know what I want to do, if I haven't really honed in on the actual course of action I want to take, I will literally turn to Kanga and I will say, Kanga, what do you think I should do? And she will look at me with her big brown eyes, and I will listen, and I will hear something. Now, I'm not saying that my dog is talking to me, although of course she is talking to me. But what I really think I'm doing in those moments is I am listening to myself. I'm taking a deep breath, calming down, putting some good information in my brain, and then using Kanga as a focusing device to listen to myself think. And I often find the best decision comes from that, is literally just asking Kanga, what do you think about this? Listen. And when I hear an answer from her, I trust that. So that's actually what I think is the one best way to treat dog cancer. Because when I am doing that, I'm going to make a decision that later I will know I have confidence in, because it was the best decision I could make at the time. And the only way I know how to live a good life in a time where we all have to make choices that we're not confident in, because there's no one choice that will definitely cure the dog's cancer. The only way I know how to make choices that I will not regret later is to sort of know that I took a breath, did some research, asked the right question, and then listened. And when I make decisions from that place, I can set aside my stress. I can release the idea that I might be wrong, because I might be wrong. But then I will again go back to the breath, connecting, calming down, researching, and asking what's the right thing to do here. And I'll make a new choice based on the new evidence that I have. And in the meantime, I'm going to take Kanga for a walk. I'm going to play with her toys because she loves to play fetch. I'm going to take her to the beach, and I am going to feed her the food that I know she loves and is really healthy for her, and take all of those actions to, get her blood work done, get her checked up, do the things that I know are right to do for her, but connecting to her really deeply, meditating with her, playing with her, taking care of her, and having a good time, and letting her know that I love her and that we're buds, that we're together, that I'm hers and she's mine. And that, my dear friends, that is the right way to treat dog cancer. And about this, I will take a stand. This is my opinion. The right way to treat dog cancer is to breathe, ask a trusted resource, read a trusted resource, watch, listen to a trusted resource. Think about your life and your dog, your limitations. Make the best choice you can, and take your dog for a walk. Give your dog what she really wants, which is time with you, because that is the best way to treat dog cancer. I hope this was of service.